Hello everyone. So myself Anusha. Today I'm going to explain the topics called enumeration, autoboxing, generics in Java. Coming across with the concept called enumeration. So enumeration is nothing but a list of named constants over here. So in Java, enumeration is going to define a class type where we'll be having the constructors, methods, and also the instance variables. So we can able to create this enumeration by making use of a enum keyword. Just like however we are going to create a class by making use of a keyword called class followed by a class name. In the same way, we are going to create the enumeration. So by making use of a keyword called enum followed by an enumeration name. So each enumeration constant which we are going to define in that list is either public, static, or else final by default. Okay. So here an enumeration can be defined simply by creating a list of enum variables. For example, if we take a subject as a variable with different subjects in the list. So we'll be specifying like enum subject followed by the list of subjects over here like Java, C, DBMS, OS, CN like that. So here whatever this identifiers we have specified here like Java, C, DBMS. So those are called the enumeration constants over here. So they are public, static, and final by default. Here, the variables of enumeration can be defined directly without any new keyword. So if you observe the example over here, it has been represented like class and the name of the class is enum example. And here, so we are going to specify the enum. So public enum, the enum name is season. So here I'm going to specify the identifiers called seasons, various types of seasons in the list, winter, spring, summer, fall, etc. Okay. And here I'm going to represent the public static void main. So here I'm just trying to print the list of this enumeration constants that has been mentioned in the enum over here. So that's what I have represented like print out statement over here. So if I try to run this program, I'll be getting the output like the list of the enum constants, that is winter, spring, summer, and then fall. Whereas coming to the various types of methods that are existing in the enumeration is values and then value of. So this is the representation or general form of values and then value of. So values is nothing but directly we are going to represent the list of the named constants over here, whereas value of is nothing but we are passing the strings through that str representation. So the only difference between the values method and value of method is nothing but in the values we are going to represent the list of constants over here, whereas in this value of we'll be passing this constants through this string str. So that is nothing but enumeration. So next coming across with the auto boxing. So before knowing the auto boxing, we have to know what is this type wrappers meant for. So what is this type wrappers? How for what we are doing this wrapping in the cells? We need to convert the primitive data types to the wrapper class over here. So in Java, we are having the 8 main primitive data types over here like double, float, integer, short, long, byte, character, and then Boolean. So these are the 8 primitive data types. So if you want to create an object for this 8 primitive types in the sense, definitely we want a class. So if you want to make use of an object in the sense, we have to create a class over here. So for that, we are trying to convert this primitive type to the wrapper class over here. So for wrapping up of that, if for example, if I'm taking a character, so here character can be wrapped by making use of a thing called character, and within races we are going to represent char ch. That means so we are trying to convert the character class so that the Java compiler will be applying the auto boxing when a primitive value of this is a character. Okay, and then coming across with the Boolean. So Boolean data type is also converted into a class over here. Okay, so instead of making use as a boolean as a data type, here we are trying to convert into a class. So for creating the class, that means we will be creating the objects for that usage of that object in the class. Okay, here the representation is like a boolean bool value. That means if the boolean value is zeros and ones, we are going to represent it as bool value. And if this boolean value is true or false in the sense, then we are going to make use of this string bool string. So in the same way, if you come across with the numeric type wrappers also, so this is the list which is comes under the type of numerics over here: byte, double, float, int, long, and short. So if you observe over here, just we have represented the data type followed by the that type value. That means we are trying to create a class for this primitive type. That's it. So if we want to make use of the primitive types, so we want to create an object. Simply we can't create an object without a class. No. So for that reason, what we are trying to do, we are trying to convert this primitive types to the classes over here. So that conversion will be called as the auto boxing. So auto boxing is nothing but the process of converting this primitive type to the wrapper class is nothing but auto boxing. Whereas the reverse of this auto boxing is nothing but unboxing. So where it will be doing the work of auto boxing in reverse. That means the wrapper class will be again converted into the primitive type over here. So that is the main thing. So what auto boxing is refers to the conversion of the primitive value into an object of the corresponding wrapper class. Okay, for example, so if you want to convert int into integer class, and this is the Java compiler will be applying the auto boxing when the primitive value is RL. Okay, that means the Java compiler is making use of the concept called auto boxing for conversion of this primitive types to a wrapper class over here. Next concept is generics. So coming across with this generics, so generics is nothing but the parameterized types. Whereas, so these parameterized types are important because they enable you to create a class interface and also the methods, so which we are going to use in or else operate in a specified manner. Okay, so using generics, it is possible to create a single class with different types of data. Okay, in Java, so by making use of this generics, we are having an option to create a single class with different types of data. For example, a class, an interface, or else a method that operates on a parameterized type is called generic. Okay, so if it is a class, we are calling it as a generic class. If it is an interface, we are calling it as a generic interface. If it is a method, we are calling it as a generic method. Whereas coming to the advantages of this generics, it is having the three main advantages in generics. So first one is type safety, second one is typecasting is not required, and the third one is compile time checking. Type safety in this is here we can able to specify a particular object, so it has to store that type of objects only. For example, if I'm going to specify the string type of objects in this is, that list will be containing only the strings. So if we try to enter that integer, it won't allow. That is nothing but type safety. Then coming across with the typecasting is not required in this sense, so there is no need of typecasting. So here I'll just explain you through an example. So if you observe over here before generics, here I have specified the method called list. List is equal to new array list. Here I'm trying to add some value to that list. Okay, I'm going to create an array that also, and I'm trying to add some value to that array. And here if you observe the third statement, there I have mentioned string s is equal to string of list dot get. This is nothing but typecasting, where I have mentioned that array is nothing but a string type. Okay, so but if you try to make use of this generics, we are not intended to represent the type over here. Okay, so if you observe after generics here, the list itself, I'm specifying it as a string. And next, I'm going to create an object and new array list of string. So if you observe the third step, here I have mentioned string s is equal to list.get. Here I haven't mentioned the string. Whereas without usage of generics, I have mentioned the typecasting over here. That is the main difference between this usage of generics. So typecasting is not at all required in the generics. Whereas coming to this compile time checking, so it is better to handle the problems if it occurs at the compile time rather than the runtime over here. So here in the usage of this generics, we are having the compilation time. That means we can able to check that statements during the compilation time, so that it is easy for us to rectify the errors over here. See, for example, here I have specified list as a string. That means the array which has been specified is string, but here I'm trying to add the integer. Okay, it's quite, as it is a type safety, it is not possible to insert integer value into the string list, right? So this is the compile time error. So this is how we can able to rectify this error during the compilation time by making use of this generics. Okay, so this is what the generics meant for. Next, we are coming across with the concept called generic methods. So in this generic methods, usually the methods inside the generic class can make use of the class type parameters. Okay, so it is possible to declare a generic method that uses one or more type of parameters of its own. We are having that flexibility in this generic method. We can able to declare a generic method, so that is going to make use of one or more type of parameters of its own. And whatever the parameters that it is going to define, it should be mentioned in between this angular braces. And the parameters will be one or more over here. And the general body description is same as in the normal method specification. See here, so I'll just explain through a small example. So here I'm just specifying a public class, and then class name is test generics. And here I'm just passing the parameter called e. So this is e is nothing but elements in the array. Okay, so then I'm going to just pass some elements through this E. That means E is nothing but an array over here. And whatever the elements I'm just passing through, I just want to print that elements. Okay, so this is how we are passing the parameters in the generic method. So this is the small example. So if you observe over here, so here it has been mentioned like a so I have created two arrays, called one is with the integer and another one is the character, and I'm just trying to print that two arrays elements over here. So this is how we'll be generally making use to print the elements in an array. Next, coming across with the generic interface. So we know that here, if you observe this in this example, I have used the this keyword. So generally, this is going to refer with the current object in a method, or else it is a constructor. The most common use of this keyword is to eliminate the confusion between the class attributes and the parameters with the same name over here. Okay, so however, we'll be creating this interfaces in the general Java. So here the generic interfaces is also the same. Generic interfaces are specified just like generic classes. Okay, so if you observe over here, I have just implemented the interface which I have been created with the interface A, and here itself I have mentioned its parameter type of T. Okay, that T might be either integer or as string or as employee, whatever it may be. So I have just mentioned its parameter, and just I'm trying to create an object for that above class, and then I want to print that statement from the get method. Okay, so this is just like how the general interface is implemented in our class. In the same way, generic interface is also implemented in the generic class. Okay, so this is the final example. So whatever the above examples I have given you, just I have clubbed it and I have I'm showing you like a complete program over here. So this is how we are creating a generic class. Okay, so here we have created a class and then I have created an array list with the data type called string, and I'm just trying to add some elements into this array. Okay, in between I tried to add the integer into that array list which is of data type string, so we'll get a compilation error over here. So as I have already mentioned the array as a string, no need to mention the typecast again. Okay, and then through iteration I'm just trying to enter all those elements in that array, and has next is nothing but if it is having the next element, in the sense we are making use of that method called has next. Okay, so this is how we are representing a complete generic class in our concept. So if you try to run this program, we'll be getting the output called so that means here I have passed the elements Rahul and Jntuh. So we'll be getting the same thing like Rahul and then Jntuh. Okay, so this is all about the concepts called enumeration and then auto boxing and then generics. Thank you.